Good evening and welcome to the Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California, home to the finest road course on the West Coast for some you may ask. For season number 5 of the SAAC Cup Series, round number 3, live on the KBueno Racing Network. So happy for you to join us on this Thursday night here in February. We're alongside Mikey Neal. I am Francisco Bacallao. Mikey, we had a little bit of a week off there after the Daytona duels and the iRacing NIS Daytona 500, but we are back. We're here at Sonoma. What are your thoughts here finally after the week of off?
Yeah, I think these guys got to go out and, they got a, plate race. Well, not really plate race anymore, but, super speedway in Daytona. You have a 2.5 mile track, or a 2 mile track that is, of, Auto Club where, the cars are very reliant on draft. And now we go straight into a road course. So completely, a opposite of what we have been racing. And we had a week off, so some of these drivers have had some time to prepare, get into this kind of road course rhythm. And I think it's very fun to have a road course this early in the season, because I think that not everyone is completely locked in, and especially coming off a bye week, I think that we could see almost anyone win this race tonight, at least if they kind of gotten some practice in, because the name of the game tonight is going to be staying on track and eliminate those small mistakes that you can easily make here, because the track's going to be slick.
Yeah, it's one of those tough racetracks to deal with. Hardly ever are you going in a straight line, and with these scorching hot track temperatures that Sonoma is known to reach for in the summer months like we are in the sim, it is going to be very difficult for drivers to manage all night long. You see there on your schedule, we're just in the early portions of it all. Our first road course event of the season before we tag on to the North Wilkesboro next week, and the return of Kenneth Bueno on top of the booth here at the Kentucky Speedway on March 5th. That's a really interesting stretch of races here too, Mikey, because then we go to Pocono, then probably one of the bigger wild cards of the entire season being our second road course race of the season, a relatively brand new racetrack to iRacing and not one known to stock cars, namely, especially American stock cars, Adelaide. So it's a street course. It's out in Australia for those who may not be familiar. But what can drivers take from here at Sonoma that they could possibly apply there?
That's a great question. I think at least the one thing that you can kind of take away from this is that you can at least kind of see how the tires react to, how aggressive that you're going to drive this car tonight. You might be, I mean, all road courses, you kind of get a feel on, how it feels on the tires, how much throttle you can, mash down off the corner, because every track kind of is different in that way, because, there's some road courses where it's very narrow and there's a lot of elevation, and Sonoma is one of those tracks. But then there's also, flatter tracks where you can really, get on the pedal pretty hard, kind of like Watkins Glen. But Adelaide is a completely another beast, and I think because everyone here has probably ran Watkins Glen, they've probably ran Sonoma. I bet a lot of them have not ran Adelaide, so it's going to be a new track to a lot of people, and so that kind of opens again, the door for opportunities that we haven't seen. And with this schedule though, it is. I'm going to say it's a pretty difficult schedule to start off with, because there's nothing consistent, but it also kind of makes it more exciting for the viewer, because we're going to see a lot of different things happening these next few races. As again, we've gone to two bigger tracks, a road course, and next week we go to a short track.
It's going to make things very interesting to watch as the season progresses here, Mikey. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on it and see who's able to stand out best when the time comes. Let's take a look back in the rearview mirror, though, to when we last were racing in this series. And at the Auto Club Speedway, we were up here with Nate and I, Mikey. And Nate not here with us tonight, but he did a great job in this race, covering it all from the play-by-play standpoint. And early on, there was some trouble here. Brandon Thomas got into an incident here off of turn 4, sides it down and overcorrects it, but the car just comes back up on the racetrack just enough to cause the caution. A little bit of contact off of turn 2, sees Michael Wall spin to the inside, keeps it under control. An incredible save by the driver who's been on an incredible stretch ever since this race.
Yeah, and the battles did not stop there. We were side by side all night as we we had many different leaders throughout the night, including Connor Trafari, who looked like he, had this race in his hands for a while, but Stephen Maggio, of course, would come and contest that point as, they both had a pretty good battle here for the lead for many laps. And you can see here, Jonathan Jerdensmeyer, almost at the end of the pit cycle, is going to get loose. He's going to hit Andretti Robinson, and it's going to bring out the caution. And a few other cars will be involved in this. And, this right here would change the race. As you see here, the race off pit road, Stephen Maggio would win that.
Maggio gets the race off the pit road there, and he tries to do whatever he can from the front of the field, but it's easier said than done in most instances. As you see right here, this three-way fight for the top position with the former champion Connor Trafari and Cody Rivera hanging on. These two were putting on a fantastic show at the front of the field, but it would be not for long because the caution flag would ultimately wave, setting us up for split strategies right when Connor Trafari was able to get back out in front. And here's the final stretches of laps as they were continuing to go on. There was Cody Rivera and a few others with Ollie Reeves ready to make some moves into turn one, but like I previously said, a yellow flag would wave and put us into overtime here.
Yeah, and we would battle all the way until the end. As you see, 4 cars under a blanket. And you see here, Steve Maggio's going to get out front, but Connor Trafari's going to go around with 3 to go, and that would end his chances tonight. So you see, we're going to go back green here with 3 laps to go. Steven Maggio, everything is in his hands, but anything can happen here at Auto Club just because it's so reliant on the draft. You see Cody Rivera's going to have a huge run here on the outside. He might have Steven Maggio. Maggio, though, slides up the track, and it goes right around on him, and he's going to collect both him and Cody. And Ollie Reeves is just right there to take the win away at Auto Club.
Yeah, that's a very reminiscent finish to the 4-wide finish. I know we brought that up multiple times throughout the show, but it just was such a parallel. And for Ollie Reeves, it was a situation that just presented to him on his lap, and he was able to go back to back to open the season. So great job by the driver of the 31 to stay in position and be ready like he was at Daytona to do the same thing over at the Auto Club Speedway, and now Cav 2 wins on this season, really cementing himself as an early contender here in the SAAC Cup Series in season number 5. Let's take a quick look at our Sonoma Raceway to get familiar with this racetrack. If you already aren't, this racetrack located just north of the San Francisco Bay Area in Sonoma County. This track opened back in I believe this says 1968, so it's been around for a while, but NASCAR racing has been coming here, I believe, since the 80s. See, we've got 12 turns around this racetrack, and it's seen numerous different layouts in its history. We've have the NASCAR short layout, if you will, that we've seen here in the past couple of years in NASCAR, and most of its series history also have a blend of that IndyCar layout it used to run with that infield section you see winding up and ending up on the drag racing course. IndyCar ran here numerous times as well with a bunch of different layouts using that chicane down the S's that we won't be using here tonight. And obviously the turn 11 hairpin, we've seen variations of it just before Gilligan's Island and getting all the way down by that pit entry. Probably the biggest passing zone on the racetrack. And Mikey, tonight you are our driver analyst, our main one anyway. Talk us through a lap around this racetrack that I was able to provide.
Absolutely, 160 feet of elevation really determines how good you're going to run this track. Turn 1 pretty slight, but it's all uphill. You're going to be slick, you're going to be halfway on the throttle. You can't overdrive the corner, you're going into grass. Here we go through 2 and 3, 2 really quick corners, and you kind of have to carry a lot of speed when you go up and back downhill. This is going to be probably our first passing zone, really. This stretch right here, you got to take it wide, keep the momentum. We're going to see a lot of drivers try to make passes in this corner. And after this, it's about maintaining the momentum all the way through the S's. It's really tough when you're side by side, so you got to get single file. If you're side by side, you're going to wreck, but you want to hit the rumble strips. So there's just enough grip there where the car will spin on you, but it's going to be loose no matter what. So you got to have the throttle through all of these corners. And really, you want to use this entire stretch to set you up with a coveted turn 11, which was revamped in 2024. As you can see, that inside wall now layers the entire corner. And, so you can't go as low as you want, but you got to keep it really close to the wall. Be very easy on the throttle, but then get as much momentum to carry you all the way back up the hill into turn 1.
It's not going to be an easy lap around this joint for as many laps as they're going to be doing it for, so we'll see how the drivers manage and how good of a job they're able to do after 51 laps that await for them here from Sonoma Raceway. Right now, qualifying is over. They're currently, the drivers that is, in a warm-up session and in the transition period between now and the race before we get our results in. And you look at this gap between our pole sitter and second place, Mikey, and it's extraordinary to say the least. It is about 6/10 of a second that separate first and second. But then you look a little bit further, third to say, let's say about 10th is separated by 3/10, which on a road course, 3/10 is almost nothing of a gap in a qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think tonight the name of the game is going to be consistency. You just got to get out there. You're going to run about the first 5, 10 laps, and you're going to be a little shaky. It's not going to be perfect, even though they've been able to, practice 2 weeks for this track and also practice an hour before we all start here. Uh, it still isn't enough to kind of give you that in race readiness. And so it's going to take the drivers a few laps to kind of get consistent. But what you want to do is that you want to eliminate the mistakes. And I think by doing that, you're going to have to back up your pace by a few tenths. But, going off the grass or missing a corner, those are seconds lost throughout the track. So I think minimizing mistakes early, keeping it on the track, just kind of getting a feel for it, and then once you start to push into longer runs, including pit stops, that's where you got to start to make up the time. And if you're able to battle for the lead, then you might have to push your limits. But at that point, you might be able to make some mistakes on the way. So again, consistency is going to be key tonight here at Sonoma.
Yeah, the general rule in racing, the faster you go, the more aggressive you're being, the higher prone you are to making a mistake. And it's all about limiting mistakes for success on these road courses where we don't normally see the iRacing yellow flag wave either. It's not a normal feature of iRacing on road courses with any discipline form of racing to see the yellow flag come out. So with that being in mind, it's important that you stay consistent and you stay out of trouble if you want to be there after 51 laps without the aid of any kind of incidents bunching the field back up. That's not to say it can't happen, but very low expectations. It would take, I believe in the rule book as they explain it, it would take a track blocker for a yellow flag to come out. And I've seen some big wrecks on road courses for their size, but never really a track blocker. I'm gonna knock on wood and say that hopefully that doesn't happen to us here tonight, Mikey. But the with how wide the track is, not just the surface, but given the amount of runoff there is in the dirt and in the dead grass, if you will, I think there's plenty of space for vehicles to go if there is plenty of incidents. So might not be having to plan your strategy around that too much. Very likely going to see a one stop here. Hopefully we see some different kind of strategies kind of come into place, especially with the tire wear. We could see a lot of tire wear here given the new package that these cars have for the short tracks and road courses. So hopefully that plays a role and we're able to see the drivers mix it up and put comers and goers form up as drivers try to save tires. Others maybe try and push at different times. The field is getting ready to set up on the grid, so it's time to head trackside and go over our starting lineup here for our race from the Sonoma Raceway. We're on the pole. It is going to be the number 82 of James Thurston. He's got a pole by 6/10 of a second over Christopher Robinson and the number 12 machine. A great job by the 82 to get the job done here. AJ Hyder is going to be rolling off from the third position with Quincy Strawhacker in the number 49 alongside him. Cody Rivera will be rolling off from 5th with Austin Doran in the 6th position. 7th place goes to Justin Rott, and Ali Reeves will be rolling off from the 8th spot, two-time winner already this season. And Andretti Robinson will be rolling off for 9th, and Connor Trafari will be rounding out our top 10.
Outside the top 10 tonight, Amir Bascom is going to be starting 11th, and James Bomar is going to be starting 12th. Row 7 for tonight is going to be Larry Miles in 13th, and Diego Roldan is going to be rolling off 14th tonight. Devin Frank is going to be starting in 15th, and Steven Maggio is going to be starting 16th tonight. Nicholas Borowski is going to be starting 17th, and Wyatt Robert is going to be 18th. Rounding out our top 20 tonight, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer is going to be starting 19th, and Michael Walls is going to be starting from 20th position.
King Pizzola rolling off in 21st with Shockey Torpley in the 22nd position, and Alexander Schumacher rolling off 23rd, Fidel Fabian in the 24th position, Duncan Fall will be in 26th, Chris Lee in 26th, Brad Sawinski looking for a turnaround of things, he rolls off from 27th, Brandon Thomas in the 28th spot, Gunnar Zola will be in the 29th position, with Brian Lorenzo in the 30th position, dual winner from this season, and Declan George will be 31st, Joaquin Stewart 32nd, Donovan David will be 33rd, Malachi Drake and Wayne Kennedy round out our 35-car field here from Sonoma Raceway. Any thoughts before we take the green flag, Mikey, as we get through the starting phase of this race?
Yeah, first and foremost, James Thurston ran an unbelievable lap, and you mentioned it. He was very quick here, in practice, and he cemented that with a blistering pole lap. And so he's going to be one to watch tonight. And he's going to be the first person to really set the pace down. So you want to get by him early if you can, and try to get him to use up his tires. But man, this is a beautiful track. I love Sonoma Raceway so much. We're here in wine country. It's just such a fun racetrack, and as you mentioned, it's very tight around the corners, getting through here. So you got to make your passes precisely. You got to be easy with them because it's so easy to turn someone, especially if you overdrive a corner. And, anything can happen here. One of the best at this track was Jeff Gordon. And you always watch Jeff Gordon drive here. And he was always so smooth on the wheel. And I think, no matter what car you drive, that's going to be the main thing about this track is being super smooth on the wheel, not over driving, but also not under driving because you got to maintain that speed.
It's going to be important to be consistent, but to be fast, to be successful here tonight. That 82, at least if qualifying and practice is any indication, is definitely going to be the car to beat this evening. Last season, it was the champion, the eventual champion, Connor Trafari, that went to victory lane after taking the lead in the early stages from pole sitter Gabriel Dahari. Trafari will be rolling off just inside the top 10. A little bit harder for him to make work, but we'll see what the rest of the field's able to do as they approach turn 11. The pace car, you see him scurrying it down to the safety of pit road. The fuel will be in the hands of this 82 machine, waiting for that green light to turn on, indicating us that we are racing here from Sonoma. There's the restart zone, the Echo Park restart zone just ahead. The flagman's getting ready, and we're under green from Sonoma. Oh, we got a crash in the back. Looks like that's the 56 of Devin Frank. That's around further back in the field for the second year in a row. The 56 is in trouble, so is Donovan David. But up in the front, everything has gotten clear so far, so good.
And Thurston able to kind of get a pretty good jump there. As you can see, everyone is scattering for positions. And this is where you want to gain those positions because you want to be able to stay consistent. We're going to see a lot of bumping and banging here throughout, this early, first few laps. As you can see, side by side throughout the field right now. Connor Trafari making a look a move there on the 76 machine. Not going to be able to get it. We got one around in the back. That's off of hairpin there, 45. I think it's Andretti Robinson, but he'll be able to get that car up and going. And but what I was mentioning is that it's going to stay probably side by side until we get to these S's down here, and then we'll single file out. Now you got to be able to make your moves early, but you also got to get kind of in a tire saving mode here. As you can see, AJ Hyder's going to try to make a move, and they're going to get really close. Straw Hacker overdrives the corner there on Ollie Reeves, and they're going to be side by side off of turn 11 heading into 12. We got a wreck in turn 11 as well. Someone around in the middle of the field. You can see this creates a cluster. Mini cars, they're 4 wide. I don't know if I've ever seen 4 wide off of turn 11.
That was the twin Mobile 1 cars of Diego Raldon and the number 21 of Amir Bascom that were in trouble there off the final corner. Bascom has the front end to both the front and the rear of his race car, so he's going to have to deal with that for most of the evening. It was a chaotic lap number 1 up and down the field, but for one person it wasn't, and that's our race leader. James Thurston is already out to over 1 second of an advantage over Christopher Robinson. AJ Hyder, though, has been pressuring this 12, and there he goes to the inside. The runner-up from last season already trying to take back that second place spot.
Yeah, and you got to take advantage of those corners that you're really good through. And AJ Hyder has been really, really good through that portion of the track. And you can see he has the advantage right here. He's actually going to kind of push him off his line a little bit. He's going to take that second place position, but you can see the gap to him to Thurston is already pretty far, and so he's got a lot of work here to do over this next run to mitigate that gap and try to run down. But you can see he overshoots turn 11. It's going to allow Christopher Robinson to go right back by him. So those are the mistakes that I'm talking about that you've got to, not make, because it's really going to cost you a race. And you can see Christopher Robinson into the outside wall there. Really easy to do because it's so slick going across the start finish line, and you're still turning, and now you got to go up the hill. And so, it's just, you could tell these cars are just a little uncomfortable right now. No one really able to get their foot on the gas pedal exactly how they want it, other than Thurston, and Thurston is out to a pretty good gap here to start off this race on lap 2.
Yeah, he's had one of the better starts here, and he's looking to drive away and have a good time and not really have to worry about everything that's going on from behind. So we'll see if anybody else is able to close up the gap. At least right now, that the answer does not look like a positive one. But Ollie Reeves has closed the gap up to those in front of him. He is eyeing the 12, not too far ahead. And how about Austin Doran behind this 31 machine? Doran, known for being a road course racer over on the sim, and he's been able to put up some good performances, has won on occasion, and now he's looking possibly to go to the inside of Reeves into turn 11, peeks to the outside, looking for the crossover, as there's James Bomar to the inside of Strawhacker through 11.
And you can see they're just trying to make as many positions here up as they can, and then they're going to probably get into almost a tire saving mode, try to maintain that position. But you can see, I mean, second through, I think, 8th or 7th place, they're all, bumper to bumper right now as they're, going through the first a little bit of S's. And, I think the field's going to start to get spread out now as we've kind of gotten all the incidents out of the way. So, at this point, now you got to start running those big lap times. And, to do that, though, it's pretty difficult after all that, kind of frantically trying to gather as many positions as you can. But you can see, I think everyone's pretty content with where they're at. Nobody really dive bombing anymore. So we'll see what happens. But, I mean, AJ Hyder was able to make a great move for second place, even though he missed turn 11. Great rebound, and he finds himself up into second place.
He's moved his way up into second, and he's slowly pulling away from Christopher Robinson. You see the gap there between those two slowly starting to grow. And right here, there's a decent line of cars. There's a Strawhacker looking to the inside of Bomar once again. And this is actually different than what the last time we raced Sonoma is. That wall to the right side of these drivers going through turn 11. Here it is from the looking at further back in the field. That wall didn't used to be there. It used to be just a straight tire barrier, but that changed in recent years. NASCAR considering adding that to prevent any kind of incidents from cars maybe changing direction. And if you hit that, that can give you some pretty sustainable damage, and I think we may see that at some point this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone here remembers, the old tires that always used to kind of line that inside portion of the track. And you used to be able to, like, really get your right sides really close to those tires because it wasn't an exact semicircle. But now with the wall there, it almost is. And so it's really hard to just kind of run up against that wall perfectly. And it kind of throws you off, and you can't get as close as you would with the tires. And I don't know why. It's just kind of like a feeling in the driver's seat. And so as these tires start to wear a little bit, you might see a few guys really trying to cut that corner close. And when they get on the gas a little bit too early, they might even just tap that wall a little bit. But you can see Connor Trafari, he's going to make a dive bomb here into turn 11, and he's going to pass Strawhacker for that position. But that's what you got to do here early. Even for 8th place, you really got to dive it in, try to make up as many positions as you can. As you can see, Connor Trafari into the outside wall there. That's a tough portion of the track when you're side by side because the car does not want to stay on its line. It wants to push right, and we've seen a few drivers already hit that outside wall right in front of the start finish line. But Connor Trafari, no worse for wear, is going to make his way up into that 8th place position.
Gets up to 7th place now, does Trafari, as he gets ahead of the 49. Makes a little bit of mistake there out of the corner, but not really enough time for Strawhacker to make some kind of a move on it. Missed the top 5, has kind of gotten a gap. Closest battle for position is between the 18 and the 30. Between Gabe Cazzola and Larry Miles there on the racetrack. This is for the 13th spot. You see a little bit further back as well, the Michael Walls machine, who's probably running in his lowest position that he has in the entire month of February. What a month it's been for this driver, Mikey, who's gotten a couple of wins over in the Truck Series, has had some impressive finishes in 4 wide on Wednesday nights, and he had a solid outing at Auto Club after the recovery. The Patriots machine is returning despite their let's say, epic Super Bowl performance, and he's here trying to see if he can rectify what they did the last time they were in the Bay Area.
Yeah, Micah's been really consistent as of this year. And, he's always kind of been really consistent, but I think he's finally been able to put the pieces together, and he's looked better than ever. And, I know he really, really wants to get to victory lane in the cup cars, and he has some instances, but, I think a win here would be unbelievable for him. And even though he's running 18th right now, I don't think that's the highest we're going to see him tonight. Expect to see that 24 machine maybe make his way up into the top 15 and maybe even push for the top 10, because he's a really good learner as he goes, and I think he'll have something to say for that top 10 positions tonight, so wouldn't count him out at all.
Slowly but surely, Austin Doran's also closing the gap on Ollie Reeves for the 4th position. That 52 has just been running some consistent laps. That last time, as a matter of fact, was 3 tenths quicker than the 31. Was one of the fastest cars inside these top 10. As the 52 looks to eye for positions, probably a little bit too far back for the dive bomb here into turn 11, but they're all reporting them closer to Christopher Robinson on a lap by lap basis, and we'll see eventually here in a few laps time, Mikey, what the difference on the tires will make, because that bit 44 is driven away from everybody else, and AJ Hyder, or at least James Thurston, he has the 3.5 second lead. It's been that way since about lap 4, so it hasn't really grown too substantially since. Got out there quick, maybe just some tire saving going on from the 82, not feeling like he has to push it too much.
Yeah, definitely could be. And they're still Thurston's still running 14.5s, which is still incredibly fast. So I think that he's still kind of in a mode right now where he's still trying to click off laps quickly. I don't think that he is an ultimate tire saving mode, but he's still pushing the car, pretty good. Obviously not trying to wreck it, but he's still pretty quick, and on average almost about 7 tenths quicker than the next 4 guys behind him. But you did mention AJ Hyder. He is pushing into those mid 114s. He ran a 114.7, contesting James Thurston's 114.5 last lap, so only 2 tenths slower. But really at this point, anyone, oh, big slide there. I think it was a 30 machine of Larry Miles. But I think AJ Hyder, he's doing what he has to do here. You got to be able to, contest his lap times if you want to win this race. And even though you're 3.5 seconds back, there's still a lot of time to make up that 3.5 seconds. Over this run, we have 43 laps to go, so a lot going on. But you can see the battle here for the 3rd place position. All these guys are running really similar lap times. They've all been on the 1:15.3s, and so I think there's going to be a lot of jousting over these top 3, 4, 5 positions here in the next few laps. As you can see, just behind them, Connor Trafari makes his way into the top 7. He's going to maybe try to make a move here on James Bomar. So Connor Trafari is not a guy that you want to have behind you here. He's really aggressive and really fast, so he will try to pass you pretty early.
Momar's going to be looking in his mirror. He knows that 9 machine is fast. That's last season's race winner here from Sonoma. Started a little bit deeper in the pack than maybe he wanted to, certainly deeper than he did when he won last season's contest. But you can't count out this 9 machine. You can never count out the champion of the series and former road course winners. They always have a knack for being able to drive their way through, and that's what Trafari is hoping to do. As it looks like Ollie Reeves made a little bit of a mistake further up ahead, opens up the inside for Doran. Looks like a switch over attempt as he nearly gets into the back of Christopher Robinson, but they maintain cleanly through turn 11 for another lap.
Yeah, that's a tough move right there. It's really hard to block into turn 11 when you have a car in front of you, because you really try to drive in as quick as possible and to block that car behind you, but then there's still a car in front of you and they're running their line. And so it's really easy, as you see, that's the 18 machine Gabe Cazola. He is off track there. That's off of, or going into turn 11. No, it is off of 11. Looks like he might have maybe had some help there coming off the corner, but he'll get it back and going back around. We might pull up a replay of that really quickly. As you can see here, him and Larry Miles have been battling for the 13th position. A little bit of a bump there from the 30. Yeah, and he just gasses it up too quick. And that is so easy to do. A little bit of contact there from the wall. It's just, if you try to hit the gas pedal too quickly, that's what happens. You got to be nice and easy on the throttles. We got a battle here. This is Michael Walls there for the 18th position. Diego Roldan. He's going to be able to make the pass there. Mike's going to lose a position, but Early on, it's okay to do that. I think they at this point, he may know that he doesn't have race-winning speed, but again, trying to not make any mistakes here early on is key. And so, Connor Trafari though has not made really any mistakes. He's up to the sixth place position as he gets around James Bomar there, coming off of turn 11. And you know, watching Connor Trafari, he's been able to really drive deep into turn 11. I've seen it a few times, and it's working well for him tonight. And so he's probably been the best passer that I've seen on track. He's looked really, really good here, starting off. And James Thurston right now is actually running a little bit slower than second place AJ Hyder. Both ran 1:15.3 and a 1:15.2. So AJ Hyder still not out of it. Gap is 3.6 seconds. It's kind of flatlined at that 3.6, 3.7 mark, and so might see maybe something here for the lead, but I think at least for James Thurston, this means that he has to execute his pit road strategy perfectly because I think that here at a road course, 3 seconds can easily be put to 7 seconds behind second place if you really really messed up. So we'll see what happens here as they go on. Um, but I really love this battle for third place right now between Ollie Reeves, Austin Doran, and Christopher Robinson. These guys have been nose to tail for the first 11 laps here early on, and it's been pretty fun to watch them as they battle. And it looks like they're not really letting up at all.
Yeah, they've kind of been stuck together for most of this opening run of the race for these first 11 laps or so, and they're enjoying this battle for what could be a possible podium contention. The top two have driven away, and on your screen, you see those top two in question. There's on the right side of your screen, second place runner AJ Hyder and James Thurston on your left. The gap sits still at about 3.7, 3.8 seconds and fluctuates on a lap to lap basis, but otherwise, they're continuing to circulate around this racetrack at a relatively decent pace. That last lap, Thurston was approximately half a second quicker, possibly a mistake out of Hyder more so than outright speed, but still, these two are continuing to be exemplary examples of how fast you are able to go around this racetrack. Most of them nearly a second quicker than the rest of the field.
Yeah, I think Thurston actually picked up the pace. He ran about 4 tenths quicker than he had been running that last lap, and AJ Hyder was running consistently where he had been at about a 1:15.3. So Thurston really picking up the pace here. And the fun thing about road courses, and I know you are a very very good road course racer, is that when you're at a track like this in AJ Hyder's position, you can see James Thurston right in front of you. I mean, even if he's about 3, 5, maybe even closer to 7 seconds ahead, you can see him the entire time. And James Thurston cannot see him. I mean, you might be able to get a glimpse of him in his mirror, but you won't be able to see him as well. So I think that's actually a good thing for AJ here is, when you have that car in front of you, it kind of lets you see, how close you are to him, what you need to do to get a little bit, I guess, quicker. You can kind of see what line they run, even though they're all kind of running the same line because this is a tighter road course. But I think AJ Hyder's in a really good position here because he's keeping Thurston in his view, and I think that gives him something to chase. And I think AJ Hyder, if he wants to contest for this win, he has to stay in the position that he's at right now. And he did run a little bit quicker last lap, so gained a little bit of that time that he lost, but the gap still sits at 3.3 seconds. And you can see Connor Trafari, he's going to pass Ollie Reeves. Ollie Reeves, a little bit of a mistake there. Lost fourth place to Doran, and now fifth place to Connor Trafari as he's made his way into the top five tonight.
Finally gets into the top five for the first time this evening, does the 9 machine, and he's clicking off lap times comparable to the pair out front, certainly faster than anybody in the rest of the top 10. So you could possibly see this 9 machine make his way up to the top 3, but at sitting 10 to 11 seconds behind the race leader, it could be a big gap to overcome. Even with all this time he has available, that's just making up a lot of time to drivers who are running almost the exact same type of lap times that you're able to mount up there. So we'll see if Trafari, even though if he's able to get these positions, if he simply has the time to run down your top two. As he continues to close the gap now on Austin Doran, who's in fourth, and another little nice battle forming up on the backside of this top 10. There's Bomar Strawhacker and Cody Rivers, the hometown native who loves this road course with his heart, has been here for many of NASCAR's events in the past. Loves when he gets to go to this racetrack. Had a solid run going for him last year before some trouble struck. But here he is inside the top 10, the number 36 machine.
Yeah, and he's been able to kind of make his way up into this top 10. He's kind of been there, but he's been able to constantly catch these guys in front of him, which I think is going to be pretty big here. Early on in the season, you need points, and so I think with how far back they are right now, maybe seeing the pace from the top two, at this point as a driver, win kind of slips out of your mind, but you can't forget that the main idea here is to maximize points. And
Oh, and he
Cody
gets into
Rivera's
Quincy
really good
Straw
at
Hacker
doing
and
that.
spins
He's going to
him.
get in the straw hacker.
What a
Oh
save by
man,
Straw
and that's
Hacker,
such
though.
a tight corner. Yeah, and he's lucky not to back that into the outside walls. Once you get on that grass, it's like ice. But he's able to get it going, and that was a really, really, just tight battle right there. And I can tell you that happens so much. As we're gonna go on the rear deck here, Straw Hacker. Cody Rivera is obviously right here. Is just gonna have the run going up the hill, and Straw Hacker kind of cuts it off, and they're both just kind of battling for the same position. And I think there's a fight for either side. Straw Hacker's just trying to run his line, and Cody Rivera's makes a little bit of a jump there, and Cody Rivera's gonna say he had his nose inside of him. So that's just battling here for Sonoma, and I can tell you that is such a common occurrence going into turn one, as going up the hill, trying to carry momentum. Everyone carries different momentum up the hill, and so you never know exactly what you're going to get out of it. But right there, you kind of see two drivers collide, but luckily for both of them, they're able to kind of keep it going straight and no damage for either one of them.
And the top two continue to drive away from most of this field. It continues to fluctuate which one is faster. One lap or every 2 laps, it's Thurston. Then Hyder puts in a good lap. Then Thurston puts in another good one. So these top two are clearly able to do something. As look at a mistake there by Hyder going in deep to that corner. And that's actually one of the things with the rescan or the refresh of Sonoma, Mikey, is that the off-track incidents that we would normally see on road courses on iRacing on specific NASCAR's layouts, they're less strict. And on corners like turn 4 here at Sonoma, you can go wide and not have to worry about a 1x off track at any point because NASCAR doesn't use that.
Yeah, we had to talk about that before the race, and I personally like it. I think it. I mean, there's some tracks where you look at going off track, and it is very, very egregious. And a lot of drivers are like, "Man, y'all need to cut the corners off, or give them penalties." And we see that a lot in the real life Cup series. A lot of drivers at tracks, they really, really go pretty far off the track, and I think here though at Sonoma, it's just really hard to gain momentum, and so there's a few corners where that kind of excess part of the track really plays, and I that's why I really like Sonoma. It's just a tight track, and there's just not a lot of space anywhere. So there's a few runoff areas, and I think here it's at least fair game to maybe go off on those runoff areas. But nevertheless, though, I think drivers should have the ability to use as much track as they want without it being egregious corner cutting or super super off track to gain more speed down like a longer straightaway.
And that's really most of it when it comes down to the track limits of NASCAR is you don't normally see them allow for a complete cut of the corner, rather an extension of the exit to continue the momentum. And you see that when they ran at Mexico City, that they were extending the exit of the final corner onto the front stretch, the exit of the first chicane and the first handful of corners, and even the S's they were able to extend as well. And even at Watkins Glen, we see it all the time. And those are things that they implemented over to the NASCAR side of the layouts at road courses. Previously, it used to be a little bit more F1 style. You cross the white line, you get a 1x off track, and I think no track exemplified that more than Coda did whenever leagues would go there. And you kind of have to run off the track with a stock car at Circuit of the Americas. Many leagues that maybe had a clean race bonus, they definitely did not include that for Circuit of the Americas. I think it was season 7, Mikey. We were in the voice chat in that race with Jaden, and it was a competition of who can get the most X's towards the end of the race, and I think it was somewhere in the vicinity of about 100 or maybe more, almost
Oh, it was
200.
over. It was way over. I think it was 150 was around the highest, and because I mean to run the track, especially with the setups, drivers look to maximize their speed, and the only way to do that was by cutting corner. And it wasn't really cutting the corner, but it was more of getting almost all four tires into the painted area. but that's just how you kept momentum. So with no rumble, well, not really. There are rumble strips, but none of the turtles is what I'm trying to say. None of the turtles, kind of blocking off. Drivers could use that painted area, and a lot of leagues would allow for that, and I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty fair overall, but I think it would be fun also to maybe see what happens if they block off those areas. But I think that's why Sonoma's pretty well built track is because I think um, once you go or through the little S parts down into turn 4, I think turn off of turn 4, or is it turn 7? I don't remember. Turn 7 is the one where uh turn 7 is loop, so it is turn 4. Turn 4 is the one where kind of have that little bit of excess runoff area, which is very nice, I think, because it sets you up into a passing zone. So I think it's well placed. But back to the race here, we see Steven Maggio making his way up into the top 10. He just passed Quinn Strawhacker and now is making his way up here to Cody Rivera's for that 8th place position. Steven started a little bit further back in the field tonight, but he's been able to make his way up, and you can see now he wants to make a move here for 8th place soon.
Oh, looks like Riveros may have missed the corner a little bit. Maggio went down the inside, but didn't really have the position to give a little bit of a bump to Riveros, who's probably struggling to put the throttle down here. We'll see how well Maggio is able to stick through these S's and hang on with Riveros for a possible chance down at turn 11. He did a good job here in the crucial turn 10. A mistake here really would hurt the 36. He gets through nicely, gets a little bit of forward momentum, and down into turn 11, no moves able to be made by Maggio. He'll just have to wait. As in the back of this 4-car battle, there's Justin Raught, who has had his fair share of a solid week. Looking to continue this momentum with another top 10 finish. And just kind of looking through this field here, Nate, this right here currently is one of the closer battles for position. That battle inside the top 3 is mostly between Robinson and Doran now. They've gotten a little bit of a gap on Trafari and Ollie Reeves. Apart from that, everybody's really spread out, and that's normally what we see at road courses at this point in the race before the green flag pit stops. As you see the gaps form up, the paces kind of dwindle off. So it's rare to find close battles on the racetrack, so this is one of the few of them that are still alive right now.
Yeah, I'm sure Nate would love to hear that. But Mikey here wants to say that just messing with you. But I'm very impressed with AJ Hyder. I know he came second last season, but he's done a really good job tonight at kind of maintaining his position there with James Thurston. Still under 4 seconds, has a lot of work to do. And like you said, the pit stops can really change everything here. So we have on board here with the roof, and you see Cody Rivera's going into the pits, as he's going to make his first pit stop of the night here with 31 laps to go. He's going to bring that 36 machine down pit road. And I love the pit road here because you can go really quick, but it's super tight through that entry point where you have to take that right hander, and then you got to slow down really quickly, and it's a pretty short pit road, I would say, for a road course. It almost kind of reminds you of an oval. Kind of has a little bit of that left dog leg in it, and so I think having the pit road on the left side, it does not throw drivers off. So a lot of drivers here don't mind that about Sonoma compared to when you go to Watkins Glen and the pit stall is on your right side. But he's one of the first few that I've seen come down pit road, and another battle up here kind of taking place, even though these guys have all been under a blanket, is Ollie Reeves. He was able to make a pass back on Connor Trafari, and now he's looking to maybe make a move here on Austin Doran. He's got right up to his bumper, and the 2-time winner this year is not out of this race and not out of, especially his top 5 contention, as he runs 5th right now. He's been quick here these last few laps, as he's been in the 115s, and he's been catching that 52 machine. So we'll see if he maybe can make a pass here before the end of the pit cycle. But with 30 laps here to go, when do you think is the best time to come in and pit? Do you like pitting early, being the first one to pit to try to make up ground early? Do you like being the last one to pit, or do you like splitting it right down the middle there, Fran?
Well, let's first establish what the pit window is. I believe the fuel window you're looking at is about 30 laps maximum on a tank of fuel, so that explains why Cody Rivera's went down pit road. He exercised the pitting as soon as the window opens to get to the checkered flag on fuel. That's why the number 36 went into the lane. The latest you might see someone going to the lane is probably around lap 30, 31. So we could see a barrage of pit stops over the next 10 or so laps. Me personally, Mikey, splitting it is definitely a good strategy. You get the best of both worlds, but I've always been a fan of going a little bit longer on the strategy. I want fresher tires than the cars in front of me. That way I can attack in the closing stages of a race. I know what I know what position I'm in. I know I've lost time, but that means I can go get it. And it's won me races. It may have lost me races with caution flags, but knowing that there aren't any, this is definitely the position I would want to be on a road course.
I absolutely agree with that. I've always been the guy to stay out as long as I can. It worked for me last night here at the KBueno Network. But I agree. I really like staying out, especially at road courses. Just kind of run for a little bit, and then those last 25 laps or so, you can just kind of run as quick as you want. But there are guys who like to get tires right away. There's guys who like to stay out as long as they can. But here at a road course, though, remember we're not going to have as many laps here to the end of the race. So Cody Riveras is going to go ahead and take his tires, and now he has the last 30 laps here just to run on that set, and he feels pretty comfortable doing that. So we'll see what happens. He might be able to gain a few positions here too by pitting. Times have not fallen off extremely, but I mean our leader James Thurston was in the 116s last lap, and AJ Hyder has closed up a second in the last about 3-4 laps. So yeah, I don't think the pace has dropped off dramatically enough to where it's going to matter a ton. But you're still going to be able to make up a few positions, I think, by pitting this early. But it's just being able to maintain that throughout this last part of the run. But we'll have to see what drivers are thinking here and see when they want to come in here and take fresh good years.
Yeah, and when you're in a battle like this, it makes it all the more difficult because a lot of it depends on what cars around you do. That's Malachi Drape lap vehicle just in front of this battle that went down the pit lane, kind of clears the racetrack up for them in the time being. As Christopher Robinson continues to hold on to third, I think that's Fidel Fabian in on the pit lane as well. And I think the biggest question you have to ask yourself if you do pit early, especially on a road course, Mikey, is that if you're further up in the front, where are you going to cycle out when you exit pit road? Because if you exit into a traffic of vehicles, there's slower traffic. Yeah, you can get by relatively easily, but you will lose time getting stuck behind them. So if you're someone like James Thurston, let's say, you're looking about 40 seconds. That's usually what the window is for a pit stop with these NASCAR Cup vehicles, 40, 45 seconds. That puts you somewhere right behind Andretti Robinson, Michael Walls. You don't want to get caught up behind them. If you can extend that gap a little bit to where it's about 45 seconds, you have about 8, 9 seconds of a gap between Walls and Roberts. That's probably the one he wants to feed into.
Yeah, and sometimes you come out in the middle of a battle, sometimes you don't. And as a driver's perspective, it is very annoying when you kind of get behind people who have older tires, but you gotta set them up for passing them in the passing zones. And so the way to do that, at least the way that I've always done it, is if I'm ever in a position where I'm like, man, I know this guy is not pitted yet, I'm on fresh tires, I usually would try to almost slow down a tiny bit and then catch them where I want to catch them so I can make the pass. Because if not, I'm running all over their back bumper, and it just kind of makes it bad for the both of us. And so that's how I've always done it. But there's drivers who just want to get that position right away, and sometimes you get stuck behind people who are battling, and you're just stuck there. And at that point, you're losing, maybe 5 tenths, could be up to a second, and it definitely is annoying. But I think we're starting to see a lot of drivers, including Connor Trafari, come down pit road here to take their one stop in this race. And I think it's going to be pretty crucial though that you try not to come out behind a big group. And there's really nothing you can do about it, but you got to make quick work of it.
You got to be ready for the strategy to pounce because if you're nearing that gap where there's an opportunity for you to pit and have clean racetrack, you take it, especially if the cars that you're looking at make their decision to bring it down the lane. Here's AJ Hyder. He goes past the pit entry, has Declan George in front of him. That could hurt his ability to keep closing the gap, but he has been doing so decently nicely, about a tenth or two on occasion between himself and Thurston. There's the battle between two lap vehicles just behind. Schumacher nearly tags the wall with Declan George in front of them. Those two are a lap down in this race, battling for 17th there. Schumacher already made his pit stop, so Declan George has not in this instance. But Hyder that time, 2.5 seconds separate first and second about halfway through this race. If he can keep finding this kind of pace on the long run in the second half of this race, we could have a battle brewing for the end of this race.
Yeah, Hyder's been really good here as of late, but remember right now we're on lap 26, so we're starting to kind of push the area of where you'd be able to split this race in half. So we'll see if any of our leaders come in, but he's been able to make up probably about 1.2 seconds in the last 10 or so laps, and so he's going to have to make up 2.6 seconds, which is a lot more than what he just did this last run. So I think what he's going to have to do is that he's going to somehow have to make up, at least over a second on pit road, whether it's, speed down pit road, getting into pit road. He's going to have to make up a second somewhere within that vicinity if he wants to contest for this win. Just because, these 2.5 seconds is going to be pretty tough to make up on track with how the pace has gone between both of them. But looking at, last lap's time, AJ Hyder 2/10 quicker. So, anything can happen here as of late. And, you still got your guys back in, third, fourth, and fifth, even though they're 12 seconds back. If something happens to both of these leaders, what can they do to pounce on the mistake or, maybe even a crash? So, really, anyone is still in this race. And, if you're third place, you could still definitely win this, 12 seconds back. It just kind of depends on how this all plays out. But 25 laps to go here. I think it's going to start to be money time. You're going to have to see if AJ Hyder really starts to push his car here these next few laps, especially before entering pit road.
Yeah, we'll see if he decides to bring it in the lane this time. They have completed over half race distance now. So we'll go on board now with your race leader who's led every lap from the pole. And we'll see. He's able to stay through fifth gear here, shifts to fourth late. But no signs of bringing it into the lane on this occasion, and neither does AJ Hyder, who's been closing that gap even more, and as the lap vehicle gives way, it's almost down to 2 seconds on the dot.
Yeah, he's running a little bit quicker here, but like I said, I don't know if it's really enough to make too big of a difference here. I mean, 2 seconds is a pretty manageable gap, I think, for Thurston, especially because it seemed like he had very, very good short run speed. And so, is he going to have the same strategy this next run? There's going to be less laps in this next run no matter what because they're at 24 laps to go. So, he might be able to push it a little bit longer. So, um, I think you're kind of in a weird spot here if you're AJ Hyder because now you just don't know if you want to try to maximize your speed on the next run or if you want to save because it seems like he's been able to save his tires very well. And I love the shot that you just had up there. You could see Thurston's his brake rotors are absolutely red right now, so you can tell they're using a lot of brake right now, which means they're driving the cars pretty hard. But Thurston able to kind of pull that gap up to 2.6 seconds as we see now. But we'll see what happens here. Anything can still happen, but a lot of cars still battling here on track, and that fourth place position still under fire from Christopher Robinson and Ollie Reeves. And then you have your guys who have already came in and pitted. Connor Trafari, one of those. He's made his way back into the top 10, even though he's on newer tires. You see him 46 seconds back. So we'll see how pit stops help him because he pitted early. So he's been able to run, maybe quicker times on those fresh tires. So we'll see what happens here. But you can see Connor Trafari there making a move on Andretti Robinson as they're going to make their way through the S's. Um, but I think one thing that we also have to look out for here is I've seen a few cars go off track, and so there's been a little bit of dirt on the track, especially off of turn one, and I've seen a lot of drivers kind of go dead sideways off of turn one. So maybe pushing a little bit harder could also cause you to make a mistake and spin into turn one, which would not be very good for one of those top two drivers. Because I think the one who makes the less mistakes in this last run is probably going to win the race.
That's very probably true, Mikey, and we do continue to have pit stops going on this race. You saw Christopher Robinson go into the lane. He was running up in third, and he surrenders that position to go down the lane. None of your top 6 drivers have been down pit road so far. Neither is Andretti Robinson down in 12th, and not Connor Zola in 22nd. Apart from that, most of the rest of the field has been into the lane, and Thurston has been either putting him down. He's slowed it down on this lap, or AJ Hyder's made a few mistakes. That gap was almost down to 2 seconds, grew to 3.5 that time, and this isn't going to help. That's Wyatt Roberts exiting the pit lane in front of the 44.
Yeah, and Hyder last lap ran a 17.3 compared to James Thurston's 1:16.4. So it seems like maybe AJ just kind of got caught up here in some cars coming out of pit road, which you mentioned earlier. I didn't think it would be extremely that big of a deal, but it's kind of the opposite. He's kind of had a few cars that have already pitted in front of him, so it's kind of throwing him off a little bit. Um, But I mean, that gap's up to 4 seconds now compared to the almost 2 seconds that it was. That's a lot of time, especially here at Sonoma, just because again, it's really really hard to completely mess up your pace, especially when you're in a rhythm. And so I think James Thurston, he's not going to make a lot of mistakes tonight. And so if you're AJ Hyder, you just kind of have to run him down on raw speed at this point. And he obviously is kind of trapped himself there. But we're going to go here with Justin Rott, who's made his way up into ninth. And here's our leader. He's coming down pit road right now. And in following him is going to be AJ Hyder. And you see he hit that wall on the left side. So we'll see if maybe he has a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, you see
Didn't
it.
hit it extremely hard. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of damage there. And I can tell you that's going to probably make the car tighter. And that's not what you want here. You really want to get the rears going off the corners. But a little bit of damage like that could be pretty detrimental to your race. And it really sucks to do that entering pit road, but it also is easy to do because you're trying to carry a lot of speed through a very tight, narrow window, trying to enter pit lane there. So it's very easy to do, but hopefully it doesn't hurt them too bad. But we'll be able to see them battle here off of pit lane, but Thurston easily able to get off first.
Thurston goes out, well out in front. And despite making that mistake of hitting that wall with carrying so much speed, and despite all of that, Thurston was able to grow the gap by about half a second in the pit stop. And that damage isn't going to exactly help Hyder's instance, but now they'll be on cold tires for the first time. And you see now on the left side of your screen, almost 5 seconds. There's Trafari. That's the amount of time he was able to make up on fresher tires, but now he's going to be on a deficit. He pitted 6 laps ago, and he'll carry that with him for the final 21.
Yeah, and it's definitely difficult to see um, exactly how his tires are going to affect him. Sometimes, pitting early can hurt, I guess, to a certain extent. But I think through this at least mid portion of the race, it's not going to matter as much. And so we'll be able to kind of keep an eye on him. We'll see if maybe he can try to run down AJ Hyder. I think the top two's pace, though, has just been a lot better. But, maybe with a little bit of cleaner air here for that 9 machine, he might be able to make something. So we have a battle here for fourth. Austin Duran is going to try to make a move here around Christopher Robinson. As you can see them heading into turn 11, they both have been beside each other all night. And I can tell you, like, it's really, really fun whenever you have someone that you're with all night and you're just sitting there racing them. I think a lot of people find it frustrating, but I think it's always fun because every once in a while you have a race where it just seems like you're battling the same person all night. And I bet that's kind of what these guys have felt tonight. But they have a little bit of work here to do if they want to get back into the top three or finish in a podium position because Connor Trafari right now about 4 seconds ahead of them. And one guy who was in this battle was Ollie Reeves, and he actually spun going through the S's last lap, and he lost a lot of time. And so at 31 machine, maybe making the try to make 3 top 5s in a row. It looks like it might end tonight as he has fallen back all the way to the 8th position. We'll see maybe if we get a replay of it, but um, you can see here, this is going off of turn one up the hill, catches the grass right there, and that just spins him right around. And that
Wow.
right there, it actually gets it going straight. But I can still tell you that lost him at least 3 to 4 seconds of time there. And that's the mistakes that you cannot make. But at the end of the day, you just kind of got to get your car back straight. Cody Rivera's is not too far in front of him, and so he'll have to try to catch him. But yeah, right there, you can see just wheel hops, spins it. He actually just clipped the grass a little bit. That's what it will do to you. If you clip the grass, it will spin you. And no worse for wear, though. As you can see here, a little battle. This is for the ninth place position. Justin Rott is breathing down James Bomar's neck right now as they come off turn 11 to the start finish line up into turn 1. And this is just such a beautiful track. I love watching it, especially here from our blimp camera. It is just unbelievable to watch the elevation change, to see how much elevation there actually is on this track. And you feel it. Like you feel when you're going up the hill because going into turn 1, you can't see much. And so I think it's just awesome to watch them battle here throughout the race. And, they put on a pretty good show for us tonight. And again, back to these two. These guys have just not left each other alone, and they're still racing as hard as they can. But the main thing is that they were almost 8 tenths quicker than Connor Trafari. So third place is still up for grabs, at least if these two don't make any mistakes here.
Yeah, goes back to that strategy call by this nine to pit so early. He got the track position. We'll see how he's able to defend with the slightly more used tires on his race car with these final 18 laps remaining. And James Thurston, that gap has maintained ever since the pin exit. It's been hovering between 4.5, 5 seconds, occasionally fluctuating up or down, but it has stayed relatively the same. That last lap, Thurston set his personal best, the fastest lap of the race, a 13 point, oh, but Nate Polite, 6.7, and AJ Hyder ran a 14.41, so 8 tenths of a second quicker that last lap was the 82 machine than the 44. But Hyder isn't giving up. He's on his own best lap this time. Look how much he's closed the gap already.
Yeah, but I think though that they have kind of, uh, unless Thurston makes a mistake, he is in control of this race. I mean, 4 seconds is a manageable gap over 18 laps, and with them pitting on the same lap, Hyder doesn't have a tire advantage. His car's a little bit damaged. I mean, that'll at least slow him down a few tenths each lap, maybe about a tenth. But at the same time, anything can happen. Anything can happen at these road courses. I mean, we saw it with Ollie Reeves. I mean, he clipped the grass. He was half a foot over the rumble strip, I believe, and it spun him out. But at least Thurston here, I mean, watching him, he's been able to keep his car on the track. He's avoided any contact from other cars. And it's worked to his favor tonight. And, AJ Hyder's basically done the same, but we've seen him a little more often get stuck maybe behind a car. And we saw him make that mistake entering pit road by hitting the wall. So James Thurston, just out of these two, has made less mistakes. But, you were just talking about that last lap. AJ Hyder, almost a second quicker than Thurston. So who knows if he's a second quicker the next 4 laps, he's back up there battling for the lead. So anything um, is up for grabs here. We're here with the 21 machine. It's Amir Bascom. He's back here in 18th. We saw him early on, kind of get into that incident going, I think, through up into turn one. And so we saw him get that nose damage really early on, but he is looking to maybe go a lap down here from the leader.
Yeah, and that gap is continuing to shrink here, now down under 4 seconds. And I was going to bring up to you, Mikey, that we've seen lately on iRacing that these road course races really throw a wrench in things late in the going. It doesn't matter who's out in front, how dominant they've been, how much in control they've been. You just can't say it's over until the checkered flag waves. You think to four wide in particular at Montreal. Ethan and I were having a great battle back and forth. Ethan loses the lead with about 16 laps to go, the amount of distance left now. Then I lose the lead, avoiding Curtis Kelly's problem in the Wall of Champions corner, approaching 2 laps to go, and it came down to the final corner in that race for the win. Andretti Robinson and Stephen Maggio were battling for the win at the Daytona Road Course, and after Ethan dominated all night and spun at the exit of the Le Mans chicane, so it really just can come down to a one mistake or even just not pushing enough, or in some instances just finding enough speed at the right time. And James Thurston, that gap is down to about 3 seconds, and this could be somewhat of AJ Hyder just trying to find as much speed as he can. He's got a group of 3 lap vehicles in front of him. They all went a lap down, so we'll see if they let this 44 go with minimal trouble. But I don't know. They're all battling each other for position.
Yeah, and he's going to catch them on the one part of the track that's going to be a little tough here. He's going to catch the first car, the 53 machine here going up into turn one, maybe. So we'll see what happens here with Chris Lilly if he decides to maybe go a little bit left or if he runs his line. But, AJ Hyder was able to run a lot quicker last lap just because Thurston was trapped behind a pretty big group of cars here. But now AJ Hyder is going to have to face that exact same thing. And you can see he's already stuck here behind the 53 machine. And he's actually going to get to the back of him. And I can tell you right there, that's already a few tenths lost. And, if you're Thurston, you're already through this. You got past all 3 of these cars. So now he sees nothing other than a few cars coming up in his front view there. But AJ Hyder still has these next 2 cars to pass before he has Thurston as the car ahead of him. So I think Thurston made pretty good quick work there. And, he has to leave AJ Hyder to make that same pass on them. And it's kind of tough here. It's really tough now once you start lapping cars to really get into a perfect rhythm. And, just getting stuck behind a car is going to at least slow you down 4 tenths every single lap.
And he's going to be stuck behind Fidel Fabian here through turn 11, and it goes back to the same part of the track. He was behind Chris Lilly as the 55 struggles to put the power down. And all of this is hurting Hyder even more, who had closed the gap to about 3 seconds flat. It's grown to about 3.5 seconds on that previous lap. And you can see Hyder just trying to see if he can do anything to get by both of them. And it seems like, as off the track, I believe that's one of the cars that was a lap down this race. I believe Connor Zola. But for this 44, he just, whenever he runs good laps, that's the same time the 82 makes a few mistakes. Then the 82 runs a great lap, and it always happens to be when he's caught up behind some kind of traffic or makes his own mistake. But this is a great pass right here. Gets by both of them in turn 7, and now he has clean track to work with. But he's back to square one. It's 4.7 seconds.
Yeah, he needed to make that move quicker than not and was able to. But I think that right there, unless Thurston makes a mistake, is probably going to be the nail in the coffin, because Thurston now just has to run consistent laps to the end of this race, even if it's a little bit slower. And I really quickly wanted to emphasize that, I believe as the 55 of Fidel Fabian, he's not running slow laps. Fidel Fabian is in the 116s, and our leaders are running 115s. So he is not even a second slower. And so, trying to get that makes passing the lap cars even harder. And we saw a pass there. Austin Duran finally is, or Doran's finally going to get around Christopher Robinson, and it's felt like he has been there for 80 laps tonight because he's been breathing down Christopher Robinson's neck, and it looks like he finally was able to get the pass done. Will he be able to catch Connor Trafari, though, in that third place position by the end of this race? As you can see, only a few tenths, maybe about a second up ahead of him. So we'll see if maybe the podium position, the last podium position, is going to be up for grabs here, but he can't cut Christopher Robinson out just yet. He's not too far behind him still.
It looks like Wyatt Roberts is the one that wins out there, as we have a great battle on our hands for the 13th position. Andretti Robinson thought about possibly going 3 wide into turn 7, but they are able to navigate this section through. Robinson may have a chance at Rott into turn 11. You see a faint defense by Rott, but there's not much he can do with the front end damage to his race car. Not going to help his case, as he was in the top 10 earlier in the night, and so is Andretti Robinson. But the alternative pit stop strategies and the differences all up and down the field have kind of jumbled up the bottom of the top 10, which is currently held by Quincy Strawhacker, who's in no man's land. You see behind him nobody. Doesn't appear there's anybody immediately in front of him. He's about 5.5 seconds from car in either direction. I think he'll take that in these final 12 laps to capture a top 10 result.
Yeah, and I bet Quincy Strawhacker's pretty happy with his campaign tonight. He obviously started inside the top 5, and unfortunately kind of got bumped in turn 1, but he's been able to rebound to a pretty nice top 10 finish here, hopefully by the end of the night. He's done very good to kind of maintain that position. And, I can tell you it's really hard to get back in a groove, especially when your tires get hot after spinning. And so he's done a great job tonight. And also kind of going back there to Andretti Robinson, another guy who spun out early, and he's made his way up to 14th, and he's been really fast. And, I could tell you, it feels really good to at least kind of gain a lot of that track position back after you spin really early on. And I think road courses, though, are the toughest, because when we go to ovals, if you spin early on, it is obviously really, really easy to get back up to the front at some point, at least if you don't have an insane amount of damage. And road courses, however, we don't have yellows. Nothing kind of gets the field back together. And so, I mean, there are yellows, but more than likely, you're not going to see them. And I think it's just really, really hard to gain that track position, and it's really hard to stay composed while doing it. So, really, well, hats off to the 45 machine tonight. I mean, being back inside the top 15, maybe even trying to push a top 13 tonight is pretty incredible. Um, but we're here, 10 to go. James Thurston's still our leader, still running about the same lap times as AJ Hyder. So that gap continues to be just of over 5 seconds, about 5.5 seconds. And so still I don't know if AJ Hyder can get to him at this point. I think if he has to go now, and he has to run at least over half a second quicker on average. And with the damage on that car, I don't know if that's completely possible. The only other option would be a mistake from the 82 machine, but he's in a position where he doesn't have to push himself, so probably won't see many mistakes out of that 82 car coming down to the finish here. But there's a few battles, but I think the one that I'm looking at right now is third place position is up for grabs. Connor Trafari has been caught by Austin Duran. We saw him get around the 12 machine of Christopher Robinson, and he is caught up to that 9 machine, and he's going to maybe try to take away Connor Trafari's podium. And you got to remember, Connor Trafari, when he pitted a few laps earlier than everyone else. So he's probably has about almost, I would say, about 5 lap um, pressure tires. And at this point in the run, it's going to mean a lot. And so we'll see kind of what happens here at the end of this race. But Duran is there now, breathing down his neck. And you can see here by the side-by-side, that car's only getting bigger in his rear view. So if you're Connor Trafari, you are on defensive mode here. You want to finish third, especially kind of how the start of his season has panned out. Daytona, really quick, spun out. Auto Club, really quick, spun out late. So I think he wants to at least try to get into a top 3 finishing position tonight.
And his work is going to be cut out for him because there are 4 lap vehicles ahead of these two that will play a role in this battle for the third spot. We talked about how they're not that much slower than the race leaders, and the race leaders are pretty substantially quicker than just about everybody else. That's going to make it infinitely harder for these two to do with their battle and deal with the lap traffic that lays out ahead. Trafari struggling on slightly more used tires than Austin Doran. Doran finally getting into a rhythm. We'll see what he's able to do as they mount into traffic. This is when that game just becomes a little bit more difficult for Trafari, where the pressure starts to show itself. But he's handling it so far. We'll see if he can do 8 more trips around this racetrack. And I want to take this opportunity because it's a road course canon event. Mikey, this being one of your first times up here in the booth with us in a road course event, what is a track that you think a league that you run as a Doran gets loose there off of turn 1? What is a road course that you would like to see in any of the leagues that you run?
Man, there are so many good road courses. Um, and especially here on iRacing. One that's not on iRacing is that I remember, I don't know if there's anybody who ran Forza 6 out there, but there used to be this map in Brazil, and it was Rio, and it was like a short track road course, and I would do anything for them to bring that road course onto iRacing. It was so much fun. The fireworks would shoot as you would drive down the big front straightaway. That would kind of be like a fantasy kind of road course. An actual road course, though, I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of really good road courses. I mean, I'd really love to try a stock car on Bathurst. I don't know if it's completely plausible, but I think that it would be so much fun to bring a car. I think it's in New Zealand or Australia, one of them. And I think with how tight that track is, with the high speeds down the long straightaways, I think it'd be such a fun track to try if you can actually get a, a stock car onto Bathurst, because I mean it would just be unbelievably tight racing, but it also kind of give you longer straightaways for those passing opportunities. So maybe something fun.
And look right there, a little bit of a moment for the 21 just in front of the 9 as Trafari tries to get past him, and he does. They're navigating this traffic, but no positions have swapped hands so far, and that's a great combination, Bathurst, with the NASCAR Cup Series machines. We've seen a lot of Bathurst sessions as drivers prepare for the 12 hours of Bathurst on iRacing. The real life version was just this past weekend. I can't say I've ever seen a kangaroo jump out in front of a GT car before, but that happened early on in that race, and it made the headlines around the news. We see Adelaide on the schedule, also in Australia, like Bathurst, later in the schedule. That'll be interesting when we show up there. It's new to the iRacing service. Another track that's new to the iRacing service is Doran's to the inside, making a little bit of contact, and he's almost clear of the 9, but Trafari's going to try and fight this one back as Doran goes a little bit wide, has to lift, and they remain door to door. Trafari hangs on, but Doran may try the crossover to the inside. And for now, Trafari hangs on to third. What a attempt there by the 52. And to kind of continue what I was saying before, that brief battle, Mikey, another new track that we'll be seeing in a few weeks' time is on the KBueno Racing Network and the Truck Series will be the Mexico City Grand Prix, which is what we saw in NASCAR in 2025 for the first time with the Xfinity Cup cars. We'll be going there with the trucks. It'll be fun to see how the trucks handle there. I know you'll be in the field in that one when we do show up there. If there's any, and St. Petersburg is going to be added here in a few weeks. Hopefully, iRacing's hoping to add it for season 2 in that build when we get to it. And I can't wait to test it when we get to the trucks there. I'll be going to the real life race, so I'll try to draw some comparisons when we do get the St. Pete Grand Prix layout onto the sim. As Doran maybe looks to the inside for another move, not this time. I'm not sure. I think if there's anything I would personally like to see, I would like to see the 4 wide series. Tyler, if you're listening, go to Mexico City in season 9. I would love to see that. I would definitely feel very happy about it. I know Lawson Peel would too. But I don't know, something in Europe, anything in Europe just to try something different than what we're used to. I think that would be cool. But you know what is cool? It's 5 laps to go, and look who's joined this fight for third. It's Christopher Robinson.
Yeah, his battle has been pretty unbelievable right now. Connor Trafari's rear tires are screaming right now, but he is doing the most he can to keep Austin Doran behind him. And, I mean, it's so difficult. And you can see right here, the 52 is going to have a huge run. And Connor here just has to run him as tight as he can. And he's trying. He's going to have the momentum. And Christopher Robinson is there for any mistakes. And don't look now, but Steven Maggio, who started deep in the field, he's made his way up to 6th. And he is only about a second behind all of these guys. So we're about to have 4 cars under a blanket here with 5 laps to go, all battling for the final podium position, which is held by Connor Trafari right now. And you can see Connor Trafari with a huge slip up there, but he drives it in so deep he's missing the corner. There's no way he's making it.
Oh, and he hits the barrier in the process. A big hit for the left front of the 9 as he's going to lose 2 positions in that corner. So move Doran up to 3rd, Robinson up to 4th, Trafari down to 5th. And now it's going to be a question of how much damage did that 9 machine receive. You see a little bit of smoke come out of that vehicle. Looks like that left front is definitely broken.
Yeah, he was trying so hard there to keep those guys behind him, but he made a major mistake through the final part of the S's and he tried to just drive it in as hard as he could, and you cannot drive it in off of turn 10 going into 11 super hard, and you're just gonna hit the wall every single time. I mean, you could tell so early on he was not making that corner. Right there goes off track, and he goes so deep, and you could tell he knew right away he was not making the corner. And honestly, pretty lucky not to nose it into the wall. He kind of is able to kind of keep his momentum going, so he's not going to lose as many positions as probably could have. But still in a top 5 position, even though he has Steven Maggio not too far behind him. But now this opens the door for, again, the 3rd place position to be under fire here. Christopher Robinson has been able to make his way to the back bumper of the 52 machine of Austin Doran, and I mean, anybody can still get this position here because these guys have been going at it all night. And once you get a little bit deeper here, into these last 2 laps, what moves are you going to throw? I mean, will you dive it in super hard? Are you willing to move another car out of the way to just get that position? We will see. But right now, Connor Trafari is probably out of this battle, but he's definitely not out of the battle behind him for 5th place because Steven Maggio is there on his bumper.
There he is, Steven Maggio, but practically pushing Trafari through this first sector of the track, and gets loose and gets contact with Maggio, who's able to keep it going, but Trafari spins out, cuts the course a little bit, nearly gets into Chris Lilly on the rejoin, but much like Ollie Reeves, a solid enough save, and he remains in 6th. A side-by-side for 3rd. Here comes Christopher Robinson now ahead.
What a pass from Christopher Robinson. He kind of came out of nowhere there and just had a flying run. That's turn 7. It looked like maybe Duran might have overshot 7 a little bit, and Christopher Robinson kind of made a little bit of a late jump, and the 52 machine was not able to get his throttle all the way down, and that opened the door for Christopher Robinson. And with 2 to go, he is now going to be able to take that second, or that third place position rather, that is. And we have a little bit of a battle here heating up for 8th place. Cody Rivera is trying to hold off James Bomar. Again, that's the battle for the 8th position. 2 laps to go. These drivers have to make their moves quick if they want to gain any more positions here for the end of this race.
Yeah, it is not over for this 3rd position. And we've kind of left the leaders be. That gap is maintained at about 5.5 seconds ever since we last saw them on the screen. And James Thurston, barring any major mistakes, is looking like he can drive away with this victory. The attention, rightfully so, is going to be right here in this battle for 3rd. It has been fantastic. These two have been with each other since the drop of the green flag, and this could come down to the final corner of the final lap, which is just about to begin. This is 24 seconds off your race leader, and there's James Thurston rounding the final corners. I believe there was a spinner further back there, but it was a lap machine, and it's the white flag for James Thurston. An incredible race that he's driven here tonight from the pole. Just got out to a big lead early and then was just managing his pace the whole time. Was never under any major pressure. Just kind of drove it calm. Made a nice pit stop. Didn't make any mistakes on the pit lane. And he's managed the traffic nicely. Despite losing some time on occasion, never made a big enough wobble to warrant the attention of 2nd place, draw an invitation. He's got 1 lap vehicle in front of him. That's Declan George, but I don't think this 82 is willing to get all that too close to him. We'll probably just sit right here and take this one out to the start-finish line. Thurston, who was able to grab a few victories towards the back end of season number 4, will go into turn 11 for the final time to the inside of the lap car of Declan George. And after a dominating performance of leading nearly every single lap, it is James Thurston victorious from Sonoma. And he led every single lap.
Hey, what do you say, James Thurston? The first driver not named Ollie Reeves to make his way into victory lane this year in dominant fashion. That is, he led again every single lap tonight, just ran it almost perfect. And a little bit of a wreck here after the line, and Maggio goes around before the line. A few drivers wrecking there. Maybe there might be some virtual oil on the track, but a few drivers there spinning. But James Thurston tonight was just unbelievable. And, there's just nothing you can do when a car or when a driver is just in their lane. They have the momentum, and that's what he had tonight, and just made it look so easy out front.
It was a great effort from this 82, as he's been doing a couple of celebrations around the racetrack. Did one here just off of turn 4, or turn 3A. He'll celebrate here off of turn 4 now. And that's the thing with Sonoma, is you normally don't know where the winner's going to celebrate. There's numerous places where they can realistically go around this racetrack and do a few celebrations. He could go down here to turn 7 and do some more if he really wanted to. Wait all the way down by the front straightaway, of course, as well. But
There's beautiful views throughout the entire track. I think he probably wants to do a burnout in every single corner so he can go back and take some pretty cool pictures. Because I could tell you, no matter where you go here in Sonoma Valley, it is absolutely beautiful. And if I won this race, I would be taking pictures in every single corner. And you saw him do a few burnouts there, but I could tell you, he's pretty ecstatic with how much he's spinning this car out.
I mean, it's not every day, Mikey, that you can go to a race, sit on the pole, lead every single lap, have the fastest lap of the race, and take home the race win. That's what we would call a grand slam in Formula One. It is not a common feat. Not every driver has ever done that in their career, And good luck if you've ever done it more than once. James Thurston has done that today. A grand slam here from Sonoma Raceway as he'll put it in reverse into turn 11. Trying to figure out every way to celebrate here, but he's doing a great job of it. Probably taking
Tell
lessons
you
from
right here,
Mater.
well, this is shades of actually Mikey Neal, because I just want to say that this has been my celebration since 2018. Was always put it in reverse and go around the track. So I like seeing that. That was always something that I always used to do in every single league race. Pretty cool to see it back here.
And he'll continue to celebrate now properly onto the front straightaway and enter Paul's setup shop, Victory Lane, for the first time in Season 5, James Thurston. And as he exits the vehicle and heads to virtual victory lane, we'll head trackside and go over our unofficial race results here from the Sonoma Raceway. And James Thurston able to capture that victory. The gap at the end was 4.2 seconds back to AJ Hyder, who did everything he could, lost too much time in the traffic and that damage entering pit road. Christopher Robinson nabbed a third place finish there in the closing stages of the race. Fantastic drive for him and Austin Doran, who were around each other the entirety of the race. Steven Maggio comes across for a top 5 finish. What a job for the 51 to move up through the field. Ali Reeves with the 6th place effort. It won't be a three-peat for him, but it's still a solid result here. Connor Trafari with the alternate strategy falls down to 7th after missing turn 11, collecting that left front damage. James Bowmore with an 8th place position. Cody Rivera finishes his home race in a 9th spot, and Quincy Strawhacker rounds out your top 10.
11th place tonight is going to be Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. Larry Miles going to round out or finish up in 12th place tonight. Andretti Robinson, pretty good comeback tonight. Is going to finish 13th. Wyatt Roberts going to be 14th and rounding out our top 15 tonight. Justin Rott's going to place his 76 machine there. Michael Walls, we saw him struggling a little bit early. He's able to round out his finish tonight in 16th place. Alexander Schumacher is going to finish 17th, that is. Fidel Fabian's going to finish 18th. Gabe Cazola finished 19th tonight. And Chris Lilly rounds out our top 20.
21st will go to Amir Bascom in the number 21 machine, with 22nd going to Declan George. Malachi Drake finishes in 23rd. Connor Zola will finish in 24th. Donovan David will finish 25th. Duncan Fall in 26th. Brian Lorenzo 27th. Diego Roldan in 28th. Chucky Tarpley in 29th. 30th goes to Devin Frank. And rounding out our 35 car field is Brad Sawinski, Brandon Thomas, Wayne Kennedy, Nicholas Borowski, and Joaquin Stewart. We'll take our opportunity now to work our way trackside to virtual victory lane and grab a chance to talk with our race winner, Mr. James Thurston, and he joins us in the booth now. James, what a drive. We were talking about it, me and Mikey there. It was a grand slam. You got the pole. You led every lap. You had the fastest lap, and you took home the race win. Was this as perfect as a race car as they come?
Yeah, you could say so. We're at the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports race shop. They sure put together one great piece for tonight. We went out there. I mean, that lap that I set for the pole, that's one of the biggest margins I've won a pole by, like ever, basically. Just super, super happy to win this. I needed to have a race like this. It's been a while, really. I mean, believe it or not, it's been a while since I've won a race, in this fashion. So, to be able to come out here and just, put it together, it it's great. It's really great.
And we saw you take away the lead early. Obviously, you drove away, but then you kind of maintained the gap. At that point, was it just about making sure that they never really got too close to you? Was it always about saving the tires, saving the race car, not feeling like you had to give it 100% just to maintain the top spot to AJ Hyder?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really super concerned about them. I mean, AJ was really fast, but the reason he was catching me there at the end of the first run is because I used up too much fuel earlier in that run, and I needed to get to whatever lap it was that I pit. I just didn't want to let him get an extra lap on me, in case that gave him enough pace. So I was just saving a little bit of fuel so I could make it an extra lap. Um, but yeah, I mean, once I kind of cleared out for the lead, especially after the final stop, I was still searching around. I was trying to find anything that would work. I feel like I found a lot this race with this car here. So honestly, I feel like I could go even faster now. But Yeah, we just had it all tonight, and I think the increase in horsepower with this car also played to my favor. I really love cars that you can, hit the gas pedal and make it kind of do what you want it to do, and it not just have it start plowing tight on you the way that this thing kind of. No, this car didn't really used to do it that much, but other cars do it. But yeah, just super great race for me tonight. So glad we can put it all together.
That's actually another one of the questions I had for you, James, is compared to the previous iteration of the stock car road courses with this next gen, what did you think was the biggest difference in having to change your driving from the 670 package over to the 750 package?
The funny thing to me is that I thought this car would be faster, and it honestly, like lap time wise, is really not faster than it used to be. At least here. I don't know if they changed grip levels or something, but it feels like it has a lot less grip than before. So this thing it gets rolling down the straight, but then by the time you get up on the corner, it feels like you have to slow down, not just like to compensate for the extra horsepower, but it feels like you have to slow down more for the corner than you did even before. So it's like, it feels like you're driving 1,000 horsepower race car with no downforce. That's pretty much what it feels like. There was one time there in the short shoot, I think they call it, um, where I flat-footed it in the thing. It scared me. It started jumping sideways, and I thought the rear end was going to end up in the Toyota tire barrier. And I don't know how close I was to it, but I mean, this thing's got enough horsepower to break the rear tires loose at a pretty good speed. So I think that it's going to be a car that really rewards the best of the best here with this current package on the road courses.
And we're going to see it a few more times this season, next time over at Adelaide. But before we let you go, James, from this fantastic performance here tonight, anybody want to give a shout out to that helps makes this happen for you and the whole 82 team?
Yeah, just big old thanks to Power Smash, Infinity Speed Motorsports, Murphy Esports as well. They weren't here tonight with me, but they're a great part of my help, my team and all. Just so happy that I could finally put one of these together. Hopefully we can put more together, maybe on an oval.
It was a fantastic performance. Once again, congratulations on your first win of season number 5, James, and we hope to see you out next week from the North Wilkesboro Speedway.
All right, thank you.
That's James Thurston, winner tonight from the Sonoma Raceway. Mikey, great stuff as always from our race winners, able to give some incredible feedback. And we'll now talk to our runner-up finisher tonight. AJ Hyder is caught up with Mikey Neal.
AJ, welcome to the KBNR or KBRN booth tonight. We saw you run second all night. We know last year here at Sonoma you finished second as well, so I bet it kind of stings maybe to finish second again. But overall, really solid night. It looked like you, for the most part, you're able to hang with James Thurston there, not losing him too much. How did your race go, and what did you plan on tonight? Because it looked like again you were able to maybe lost him a little bit early, but were able to maintain it, maybe even catch him a little bit throughout the race. So again, what were you kind of feeling tonight, and what were you looking forward to once you were started catching him a little bit?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I was just going to try to stay out of trouble because usually when I'm on these road courses, I get in at least one incident or I get off track or I run into someone. And I was just trying to minimize all that today. And yeah, thankfully we were able to do that today. I knew it was going to be a challenge knowing how good Thurston is on the road courses with this car. So just being able to stay with them and not really losing much time to him throughout the race, I mean, that's pretty much a win for me, to be honest, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, just super happy to get a decent finish at one of these road courses for once. And yeah, just ready for next week at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, and kind of changes to this car over the off season. Tonight, I just wanted to ask you from your perspective, how are the tires tonight? How are you able to manage the tires? And at the end of the day, did they matter, especially on those longer runs? Because we saw you at the end of that first run really start to maybe capitalize on, maybe a little bit better tires there for James. So tell us how you felt tonight, regarding that.
I mean, yeah, the tires, they're definitely different on these cars. Like I'm so used to how the O'Reilly, the truck, and the ARCA car drive, concerning with the tires, just how loose they get throughout the longer run. But with this car, it's just completely different. It builds tight. It's kind of like an uncomfortable kind of tight, but it's also a little manageable too. But yeah, I think since we were catching him at the end of that first run, so we were definitely doing a better job with the tire management. I feel like, but yeah, as soon as we pitted, it was when he gapped me again, and we just got into some lap cars at the wrong time and built a gap that I really couldn't catch. But yeah, I think overall we were able to keep the gap for the most part. I think it was like 5 seconds, but yeah, again, just ready to move on and try to win Wilkesboro.
Yeah, and really quickly, the last about this race, we did see you kind of get into the wall there entering pit road. Do you think that hindered your performance at all?
No, I don't think so. I think that was just me just being a little too aggressive on pit entry. But yeah, I think it was only like 12 seconds, so it really didn't affect me that much. I think it wouldn't have changed the outcome anyways.
Gotcha. Well, last question for tonight. We did see you the first two races. We definitely said your name a few times at Daytona and Auto Club as you were running up front. Obviously, those races you ended up finishing 13th and 14th, but you were able to capitalize tonight and get a second place finish. What are you looking forward to these next few races? You got a little bit of momentum on your side. You put yourself into the top 10 in points, or top 5 in points, that is, I believe. And so, what momentum is this going to give you going forward, especially into North Wilkesboro?
I mean, I think it'll be pretty good. Yeah, those first two races, Daytona and Auto Club, I really do think those are just like the chaotic tracks, and I'm just glad we got those first two out of the way, just so we can start to go to the tracks that I feel like we'll start to like prioritize the cream of the crop, you know. And I feel like I'm one of those guys, and yeah, Wilkesboro, I'm gonna try to see if we can stay up front there, you know.
Of course. And bet you have a few people that you would like to give a shout out to. The floor is yours.
Yeah, of course. Just want to shout out everybody Uprise Motorsports. That's being Connor Trufari, Diego Roldan, Elijah Ennis, and Chris Lilly. I want to also thank the Pepsi machine. Got ourselves a bad fast Pepsi machine today. Got a solid second place finish. Can't complain about that. And yeah, once again, ready to go to Wilkesboro and see if we can try to win there in the Pepsi car.
Well, thank you very much, AJ. Congrats on your second place finish tonight. And Francisco is going to get with our third place finisher tonight, Christopher Robinson.
We'll move on down to our third place finisher this evening, the number 12 of Christopher Robinson. And what a drive it was for that 12 machine. It was a constant battle all night with Austin Doran and with Connor Trafari and with numerous other drivers involved. But Christopher, it was you that was able to come on top for that third place finish. Talk us through what it was like battling these drivers literally every single lap since the drop of the green.
It was a lot of fun. I will say that my arms are dead right now. But it was I definitely wasn't the fastest, definitely wasn't the third fastest car on track, but I, I think I was the third most consistent car on track, and that was kind of my game plan slash mentality walking into today's race. Sort of kinda, I guess.
And it worked out for you because you were able to finish with the podium position, which is something that you needed to get your season going in the right direction. A good finish here in the road course. What do you think this is something that you can carry on to the other road course? I know we have another one of those, let's call it unorthodox ones with Adelaide being the next road course. What do you think is going to be the outlook going into that track, knowing the package, having ran a race with it, but also just the general unknowns of that track given its relative newness to iRacing?
Going into Adelaide, I honestly don't know what to expect. I have zero track experience, but I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of a road course guy at most. Road courses are kind of where I show my strengths, I guess, and I think I can get a decent finish there. There's definitely a lot of competition here, though, for sure. I'm not sure if you saw qualifying, but like fifth through like 20th was like within 5/10 or something like that. So it'd be crazy for me to say it's going to be easy or a breeze, but yeah.
Yeah, I pointed that very thing out to Mikey just before we went over to the grid. I saw how close third to 10th was, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's not close for pole, but look how tight those positions are. And Christopher, you put in a solid performance tonight. You get things going. Now you head over to North Wilkesboro. How do you plan to keep this momentum going over to that newer North Wilkesboro scan?
I'm just gonna give a quick shout out. I would like to thank Rap Guy, my main sponsor, but I say that because the owner of that is also my boss, and he let me off early to compete today, and I hope he does the same next week. Um, I'm pretty confident next week. I'm pretty good on the brakes, and North Wilkesboro is very a track where you use the brakes often, obviously. So I hope to carry this momentum going on. This is the highest I've ever finished in SAAC, I believe, in the last like 5 years. So, and I'm pretty sure in the points race as well. This is the highest I've ever been. So hopefully I have this little confidence boost. I have it right now. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about North Wilkesboro.
And maybe if you keep putting in results like this, boss man will look at you and say, "All right, you can keep having these Thursdays off early. You can keep putting in these results, and it maybe ends up working out for you. Career night for you to finish on the podium for the first time. Anybody else you want to give a shout out to that helped make this happen for you and the whole 12 team?"
The whole Calaveras Racing, my brother Andretti Robinson, Cody Rivera's, and a few other guys in there, they gave me extremely useful like information before the race started. So I can't thank them enough. Realistically, they really helped me out a lot.
Congratulations on your first career podium in the SAAC Cup Series, Christopher. Enjoy the momentum, and we hope to see you out at North Wilkesboro.
Yes, sir. Y'all boys have a good night.
That's Christopher Robinson. What a result it was for him. I actually didn't know it was his best career finish to date, but how about that? That's the kind of stuff that road course racing produces.
Absolutely. And, he showed it all night that he had the speed, and he ended up capitalizing at the end, which is what you got to do at these road courses. But overall, what a show that these guys put on tonight. I felt like there was for Sonoma, which could be tougher for on track battles, to take place, I think there was a lot of great battles tonight. These guys in SAC show that they can put on a show every week. And, you just didn't know who was going to finish where tonight because that third place position was up for grabs. Even first place was up for grabs for a while. But I think at the end of the day here in Sonoma Valley, after racing, 60 laps here, we could, here in wine country, we can maybe, go grab some, maybe a Cabernet or Merlot, maybe even a Pinot Noir. Who knows? But nevertheless, what a beautiful track and what a beautiful race for tonight's event here in the SAC Cup Series. And I'm excited for next week at North Wilkesboro.
It may be wine country, but I'll definitely take my moonshine any day of the week as we now move over to the Carolinas on the East Coast, the other side of the United States, and we'll be at North Wilkesboro. We won't have coverage here on the KBueno Racing Network. Please stay tuned to the SAC Cup Series social medias and Cody Rivera's for any news regarding where that race will be broadcasted. But we will be back at the Kentucky Speedway on March 5th, where Kenneth Bueno, Nate Polite, and Mikey Neal will be on the show for that one from the Tricky Triangle up in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. And we'll continue the momentum of this regular season, slowly but surely approaching that All-Star event over at the Nashville Super Speedway, not too far ahead. And before we sign off here from the Sonoma Raceway, Mikey, any last thoughts regarding what we saw tonight and what we could see going forward?
Well, I think that we're starting to kind of get in the roll of things. I mean, obviously, again, two bigger tracks start off the season. We have a road course. Next week, we finally go to an oval that's below 2 miles. And so I think that these guys maybe are going to show up a little bit more aggressive next week because they're starting to feel the cars out. And all these drivers do so many leagues that they already really know how to run the car. But, when you're running with a certain group of people, your racing dynamic changes. And I think that next week at North Wilkesboro, it's really going to show, who is going to be the standout drivers for this season. Maybe a few guys that we didn't even think of are going to run up front next week. And so anything can happen. Anything is up for grabs. We're still so early in the season. But nevertheless, I think that there's so much competition and they really show it every single night in and out that they can, run and contest for the top position. They can contest for third, fifth, no matter where you're at, you're going to have a battle on the track. And so anything can happen these next few races. But if you want to get momentum, it's great to get it now. And so you want to finish up front when you can.
You definitely want to take advantage of it when you have the opportunity to finish as best as you can. And tonight it was James Thurston that was able to finish on top of everybody else. Stay tuned here on the KBueno Racing Network for more racing as the week progresses. Be sure to join us on Sunday night for the season opener of the Drop in the Hammer Cup Series from Daytona International Speedway. I'll be in the booth for that one, handling everything as Kenneth Bueno will be over at the Monster Jam events in Raleigh, North Carolina. He'll be back and to join us for the second race of the season. He'll be back on the racetrack on Monday night, where you can join us for the KBueno Racing Network Truck Series action over from the Music City and Nashville Super Speedway. We'll see if Michael Walls can continue his hot start and go for a fourth consecutive win, or will somebody else take over and win for the first time this season, or even another repeat winner. Not that many others to choose from, but it is still possible. Be sure to join us also next Wednesday night for the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series over from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Mikey Neal's home racetrack, where he's going to try to put the success he had over from the Truck Series over into 4-wide action and capture his first career win there. Be sure to join us second to last race in the regular season fight before we go to Daytona and the Big Bracket Challenge finale. It is Michael Walls versus Jonathan Jurgensmeyer for the Big Bracket Challenge. You don't want to miss that. Winner gets playoff points, so it's going to be really fun to watch. And North Wilkesboro, stay tuned to see where that race will be broadcasted. We'll be back from SAAC over March 5th from the Pocono Raceway. From everybody here from the SAAC Cup Series admin team that helps put this league together, to Cody Rivera and everybody else that assists him in being able to make it happen, from everybody on the KBueno Racing Network that is able to put these shows together, from Kenneth making all these graphics and all these assets and packages that help make these shows what they are, from Mikey Neal in the booth with me and everybody else on the network that helps makes this happen, from Keelan Belch to Charlie Byer, Nate Polite, JJ Hill, Eli Comerford. So long and have a good night. Thank you for joining us here from the Sonoma Raceway. Congratulations from James Thurston on winning his first race of the season. I'm Francisco Bacalhau saying so long and have a good night.